All right. How do you sell 100 million units? You better watch this video because this gentleman is going to show you how he did it. Okay, everybody, Stephen Key here with inventRightTV, and I have a very special guest that's going to talk about how to bring products to market. Jason, thank you for coming on InventRightTV.
My pleasure.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning. When did you know that you were an inventor, a creative person? When did you know? How long has it been?
Geez, it's been over 30 years. And it wasn't 8 or 9. I was roughly about maybe 18 ish. Okay. But beforehand, when I was going to high school, what had happened is that I was just kind of doing these little surveys, just as people were driving by. I was living in Orlando, Florida, and I was going to high school. And every car that was driving by, I would just check to see if they were wearing sunglasses or not, And I didn't know why I was doing it. It's just, and then I noticed that a bunch of them, about 90%, 80 to 90% were wearing either like regular glasses or sunglasses or of the sort. Okay. So I'm just thinking to myself, man, if I could invent something that's related into the sunglass business, I could be a millionaire. And, that's a 16-year-old thought, not knowing what's going on. So fast forward a little bit. So then I ended up dropping out of high school. I got my GED and started going to college when I was about 16. And I just felt that, it was just a little too slow pace for me. So I ended up going to college to be a civil engineer, what my father used to be. And then I was kind of got bored with that. So then I just started started investing my own money. I wasn't old enough, so I had to like create an account with my parents to, start investing. So I started buying some stocks, and then few years later, I became a stockbroker. I got a firm to sponsor me. I took my Series 7 tests, passed it the first time. I actually didn't even study. I just pretty much cracked the book the day of the exam and just went through it and then passed it. Well, I mean, I was, doing a lot of, different types of trades, so I kind of knew what it was in a sense. So I ended up becoming a stockbroker. And then I was doing really well. I mean, I was not even old enough to drink, but I was investing millions of dollars for these clients of mine, and I gained their trust. I was able to then um, save up about $100,000
Wow.
before I was
Okay.
21, and then afterwards I was going out traveling. And so I'm Korean. I'm actually half Korean, half Vietnamese, and I had a lot of family in Korea, and so went to visit during summer, and then I noticed my uncle, he had a few cars, and I noticed that there was a little round, like it looked like a stick up. Those little stick ups where there's an air freshener, and so I thought that's what it was. It was stuck to the auto visor of the car, and then I didn't really pay too much attention to it. One day, went and had lunch, and then all of a sudden he grabs his glasses and then just puts them up, in there, and I'm like, wow, that is really cool. And so I ended up buying a few and then went back home, did my stockbroker thing. And then, I was intrigued. I was like, wow, everybody complimented me on this. And I was like, yeah, this is a pretty cool item. Um, I did a lot of research and no place sold this. Okay. And so I called my cousin in Korea and said, "Hey, I need to get a few more of these, and then I just wanted to be able to kind of redesign it because it was round. Okay, it was round,
All
and
right.
so I needed to shape it into something a little bit more that could fit all
So wait a
sunglasses,
minute, wait a
all
minute.
eyeglasses.
So
Yep,
this idea started when you were 16
yep,
and it kind of evolved. Now you're about
like
21
20. Yep. Mm-hmm.
and you're like, hey, I'm going to redesign this thing because this idea just came back to you. Is that what happened?
Yeah, yeah. So it was like this idea from 16. Like then when I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is my $1 million, idea. That's kind of just how
And
it
what's it called? What's the name? But we're going to put it up on the screen so everybody can see it because I think it's really cool. What is it called?
So at first it was called the visor clip, but then after a while, because that's what it did, then I ended up calling it the KooClip. My last name is Koo, so we called it the KooClip, and it just stuck because it sounded cool, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
So that was back then when there was like no, there was hardly any internet. AOL
Okay.
online dial-up was just coming on, and so like I didn't know like how to start promoting this, but that was just my idea. And
So it's a
so,
great way to organize your sunglasses and put them up there. They're very nice design, by the way. Nice,
oh, thank you.
very
It,
impressive. Now, how many did you sell?
um, total or like in the very beginning?
Well, give me the big number. I want the big number. How many?
Yeah, we sold over 100 million of them. Yeah.
You guys, you heard that. It's 100 million. How do you sell 100 million of something? Did you
It,
sell it yourself, or did you license it, or do you start manufacturing? What did you do?
okay, so it was tough. Okay, so like I said, I had 100 grand saved. I redesigned it. Worked with some engineers to make the design perfect.
Okay.
And so once I got that, then I basically just went to my boss's office and I said, "Hey, man, I'm leaving." He's like, "Man, you are stupid." He's like, "You're gonna come back to me in 6 months begging for your job back." And I was like, "Oh man." So, anyways, so I had 100 grand, and I just, I didn't know how to run a business. All I knew was stocks, and that's basically it. So, after the first year, all that money was gone. There was no emails back then. You had to knock on doors, you had to make phone calls, you had to send samples. And the problem with my products is that when I sent the sample, people are like, "What the hell is this?" They had no idea. So then I had to kind of change like my marketing strategy. So then I started going out to all these junkyards and getting auto visors, and then pulling them out of cars and then
Okay.
actually putting a clip on there with a pair of sunglasses and then mailing the whole thing.
Oh,
And
okay.
it helped to create some, but like I literally I starved for about 5 or 6 years. Okay.
So the
You know,
so the edgy well, so everybody needs to listen to this. You might have a great idea, and it might be something new, but sometimes it requires a little education, doesn't it?
absolutely. A lot of education actually, to the point where you got to go with your gut, but you also need to know when to pivot and how to be able to get to that right person. So like I was sending out samples to Walmart. Target wasn't even, I don't even think Target was founded yet.
All
And it
right.
was like I was sending out samples to all these major car distributors, car washes and stuff like that. And
Okay.
then once I realized, one customer told me, he's like, "Jason, I would never, you know, buy a $5 KooClip, okay, when my sunglasses only cost me 5 or 10 bucks. I'll just buy another pair
Oh,
of sunglasses." So that moment changed where, okay, I'm not going to go for these car washes. I'm not going to go for these auto parts stores. I'm going to go directly to fashionable sunglasses, people who are paying 200, $300 for their sunglasses. So then I started targeting Sunglass Hut. I started targeting, high-end sunglass
okay.
stores and Pearl Vision and all these companies. They still would not accept it. Okay. And this was, to the point where
Why?
uh, I don't
Why
know.
not?
There's buyers who look at things and they don't want to take a
Okay.
risk. So,
Okay.
they just pass. They just pass because they want to do what they know worked,
Okay.
right? And so this is a new product. It's never worked before. So that being said, I literally just kept going and going and going. My friends were like, "You're crazy." My parents were like, "You need to stop this. You need to get back and actually make some money." And so like I was to that point where I just had that feeling. I knew it was going to work. I just knew it was going to work, and I just never gave up. That to me was probably my saving grace. It was to the point where I almost gave up a few
Right.
times, but I went back to waiting tables. Like I was doing
Okay.
all sorts of stuff just to be able to keep this business going. And, I would drive to certain locations, waiting for them to sell out of whatever the product they bought. But it was never anything big. Okay. Probably the most I've sold was like maybe 1,000 here, 500 here, a
Well,
case
how'd you
or
go
something.
from, wait a minute, when did the light switch change? How do you go from struggling, you require some education, you're reaching out to everybody, but how do you go from that to 1,000 to 100 million?
Okay. Um, so it was probably like my fifth, sixth year, and I was broke. Okay. I was Orlando to Miami is about a 4 hour drive, right? And so I would drive, and if I didn't sell anything, man, I wouldn't eat, coming back to Orlando. And so it was like during Christmas this one year, and it was like almost Christmas Eve, no money. Okay. And I'm thinking, okay, gas or food. So I ended up calling Sunglass Hut, one of the gatekeepers. I kind of had a relationship with her. She would never pass me through to the buyer, ever. Okay. And I just said, look, let me just come in for 10 minutes. And I just want to hand out, stocking stuffers. And then she gave me 10 minutes. So I went up to their corporate office. It was in Coral Gables, in Florida back then. And so I went up to the top. It was a penthouse floor. They probably had three or four floors. And so I was in just the lobby. She would not allow me anywhere other than the lobby. I was doing my, presentation, had the sunglass, had the visor, demonstrated it, and then just like gave them out to people. And 10 minutes went by like that. All right. So she's like, Jason, you got to go. So jump into the elevator. Two guys were in the elevator, and I did my elevator pitch, literal elevator pitch. And uh, one guy, he got off on the third floor, the parking garage floor. The other guy went all the way down to the bottom floor with me, and he's like, dude, you know who that is? I was like, no, no, who's that? He's like, that's our CEO. So I was just like ecstatic, Didn't have any money for food, but went home, but on fumes, it was fun. So after that meeting, I got a call from the new buyer at Sunglass Hut. She just came from Nickelodeon, and
Okay.
she's kind of like a new type of thinking. And she called. She says, "Hey, someone was handing out these little KooClips or these visor clips, and we want to test them out." So
Oh,
I said, "Great." I said, "How many do you
okay.
need?" 5,000. That was a
Wow.
really nice order. Okay. The problem is that I had all of my clips that I had in inventory. I had about 100,000 of them in inventory. Okay. And they all had KooClip on it. So I had to take acetone. I had to rub off KooClip, okay, on 5,000 pieces, then print the Sunglass Hut logo on them, and
Okay.
then ship it to them. Okay.
Okay.
So then a month goes by, nothing. 2 months go by. I called. Remember, there wasn't that much emails back then, so you had
Sure.
to call or you had to show up. So both times, many times I called, no response, no response. I'm thinking, geez, what's going on? Maybe this isn't it. Maybe this was kind of like my final. If this doesn't work, then you know what? I got to hang it up. All right.
Okay.
3 months go by, 4 months go by, and then I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna pack up my car and I'm gonna just sell everything out. They're not calling me back. They're not even letting me know what's going on. So I had a plan to go from Orlando all the way to Colorado. I packed up my SUV. I had a Toyota 4Runner back then, packed it up and started driving from Florida, selling some stuff through Texas. Then was able to sell enough to be able to get to Colorado. And so when I was leaving Texas, getting into Colorado, there was no cell service back then. I mean, the cell service was very limited. So as I was getting into Colorado, my cell service was gone for like 10 hours. I get two messages. And the first message, and this was 6 months later, okay? No
Okay.
response, no communication from them at all. Two messages. The first message was the assistant buyer. She's like, Jason, we just finished our test. By the way, your product tested number one out of any product we've ever tested in our history. Like, hangs up the phone. I'm like, great. Okay. The second message was the actual buyer. She's like, Jason, your product tested phenomenal. Never had anything like this before. We need to order 300,000 clips as soon as possible. Okay. And from then on, they were ordering 500,000 up to 1 million a month.
Wow.
And once that started rolling, then the Walmarts, the Targets, then it just kept, compounding to the point where, like people are like, wow, you're an overnight millionaire,
So
even though it took six
so
years.
how do you So how do you float all that, Jason? Let's get to the float game real quick because some people
Yeah.
don't understand that. You might get a big order, but now you've got to manufacture it, and that takes time. And then you send it to them, and they don't pay you for 60 days. How do you how do you manage that when that type of volume comes in?
Yeah. So back then it was difficult. Okay. I had a PO from Sunglass Hut, it was AAA rated, and no bank would touch it. They were like, I'm sorry, it needs to be invoiced, then we could help you out. Okay. And they
Okay,
call that factoring. And so I kept calling, and then I found a company in Atlanta, and I drove up there. I told them what I had. I said, "Look, here's the PO. It's 300,000. They're going to
okay,
order a lot more. You got to help me. I know that it's not invoiced." They took a chance, and then they actually factored it as a
okay.
PO. Yeah,
Factoring, you guys.
yeah,
If real quick, if you don't understand factoring, someone will manage the invoices for you for a certain percent, usually 10 to 15%, something like that.
yep, yep.
And they'll manage that. That's a great way if you don't have the if you don't have all that cash
Well,
because the
who
banks aren't
does?
going to loan to you. Maybe if you
Yeah.
put up your house, maybe or something ridiculous. Okay, um, Jason, moving right along because
Mhm.
we've got some stuff I need to cover here.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. That's a
Thank
great
you.
story. Incredible. I like that you never gave up. I like you were with your food or gas. Which one do you do? I think
Yeah.
it's pretty typical. So, but you're still inventing things, right? I mean, you haven't
Mhm.
really stopped.
No, no. And I liked helping other inventors too. I probably work with 50 other inventors, just helping them with either idea or fulfillment or even manufacturing, prototyping. Those are the things that I
Okay.
really love to do, you know.
So I want to jump a little bit here and talk a
Mhm.
little bit about protection
Mm.
because, as you know, were you fearful? I know other people are. How did you protect all your inventions over the years? What's your strategy here?
So strategy is you want a patent, okay? Or you want to at least get a provisional patent. The reason being is
Okay.
because it's more of a deterrent. Whereas, let me just give you an example. With the KooClip, once it started selling, millions and millions a month, it was like I was getting so many copies from
Okay.
Chinese to, all sorts of different places. There was probably over 50 copies. And I
Okay.
ended up suing one because I was the one that I could, get a hold of. And I ended up winning, but I ended up losing because I spent 50 grand just on this lawsuit. They were told to stop, right? Um, and then that was it. So I'm thinking, okay, I'd rather spend my money not on attorney's fees. I'd rather spend it on, making it better, quality, and
Okay.
redefining it and making it better. So I would use the protection of patents
Okay.
as a deterrent.
Got it.
Because in the end, if you really need to sue somebody, it's going to cost you now probably over a hundred grand minimum.
No, probably even more.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
file provisional patent applications. Do you do it yourself? Do you have someone help you? What do you do?
No, no. The first with the KooClip, I went with a traditional patent attorney,
Okay.
and then I found Kevin Prince. He's phenomenal. He's no nonsense. He goes right to the point. He gets things done rather quickly. Does the patent searches, making sure that it's patentable, and then you're pretty much on your way. He does all the writing. He does everything that is necessary, You just kind of, get whatever's in your head out to him, and then boom, he gets it done and puts it in a really nice format, with a lot of pictures.
How'd you find Kevin? Because he's you were probably were you on the East Coast or West Coast? How'd you find Kevin?
Actually, that was after I sold the KooClip company. So after 15
Okay.
years, we had over 300 products, and then I just sold that company. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I started qualifying for the US Open. Just, didn't know what to do. Um, and so um, then I had this idea like, geez, there's something about coaching, okay? Especially if you're training. So I hired like five different coaches, mind coach, physio coach, short game, long game coach. And what I noticed during that time is that whenever a coach is there to fix your swing, he'll fix it within the first 3 or 4 minutes, okay? The
Okay.
other hour that you're paying for is him making sure that you're not going back to your old habits. Okay.
Okay.
So then I created this new product that would it uses sensors, IoT sensors that go into your hips, and then one that goes on the end of your golf club, and then it tracks your body movement as well as your club simultaneously. And it's almost like having a coach there to tell you if you're doing it wrong or right, you know?
Right.
So that's how I met with Kevin because I needed his advice onto helping me. And he actually filed and we actually got issued 2 patents for this new golf. It's more of a sports tech company. So we
Great.
filed a
We're
patent
gonna
that involves all sports, which
yeah,
is
we're gonna show all this up on the screen too because I
yeah.
think it's pretty cool technology. So you seem to solve problems and you seem to fight through. You seem to understand the whole process. So you have a book too, right? Let's talk about your book. You have a book?
Yeah, yeah. I just started this ebook. I just did a Tony Robbins thing, and he forced me to finally get whatever's in my head out onto a book. And
Good.
it was just perfect timing. And
Okay.
I was actually helping another inventor for baseball. We're doing an RFID chip inside a baseball. Kevin's helping me with that, and then all of a sudden, it's like, now I have to focus on trying to promote my book because it really
Good.
is about I'm not an expert. I'm just giving you my experience.
Okay.
And my experience is I think more helpful than being able to, get it from somebody who learned it in school. Because
Got it.
I don't think
I
that's
think
even
firsthand,
available.
well, I think firsthand experience is hard earned,
Yes,
right?
for sure.
It's
For
important to have
sure.
that. Jason, it's kind of interesting. You heard that it takes a lot of persistence. It takes believing,
Mhm.
even when maybe your close friends don't, not
Yeah,
giving up, uh, pounding down the doors to make sure people are listening to you, learning, pivoting, all the type of things. Jason, thank you so much for coming on InventRight TV. I think your story is amazing.
it's my pleasure.
Wow, everybody, this is Stephen Key, InventRight TV. Keep on coming back. Jason, thank you so much. And we'll have you back again because I'll tell you, you've got more information I think my audience is going to love. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Okay, you've got a great product idea and you're not quite sure what to do. Or maybe you've got inventory in your garage because you were selling your product on Amazon and you don't want to continue doing it, but you want someone to help you license your idea to a company to bring it to market for you. We have a new program that's called Gateway, where we do all the work for you. We'll find the right companies and the right people to make sure your product is pitched correctly to get the licensing deal. This new program is called Gateway. If you're interested, please check it out.